What is going on, Gunpla fam? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're gonna do a really quick how-to video on one of my favorite things to do on Gunpla, and that is enamel washing. And this is one of the easiest and most simplest ways to really make those details on your Gunpla really pop and really give it that give it that spice that you guys are looking for and really take your kiss to the next level. This is something I do on a lot of my painted builds, and I actually had a couple people ask me on Instagram to do a video on it. So I figured right now I've got a kit that I'm working on, the 1 in 550th scale Dendrobium, that I'm currently in the process of doing some enamel washing on. So I figured this would be a great time to go ahead and show you guys how I actually go about doing this. So let's go ahead and jump into what you're gonna need in order to complete this. So first and foremost, real quick, before we get into what you're gonna need, let's talk about paint. Enamel paint is what we're using, an enamel thinner. And why are we using enamel? Well, the three most common paints that you're gonna come across in Gunpla is acrylic, enamel, and lacquer. Each three of those different paints have a different hardness and strength. So when we're talking about doing a washing of a paint, we're washing a particular paint on top of another paint. So anytime you're doing that, you want to make sure that the paint that you're using on the bottom layer is stronger than the paint that you're applying above it. So in this case, I'm using lacquer. That's actually, I really use lacquer for everything. And the primary reason why I use lacquer for my kits is because the paint is the strongest. So there is no risk in me applying a thinner from a different type of paint, such as enamel or an acrylic water-based alcohol thinner, to this paint and it actually coming off. So that's why I paint all my kits in lacquer, so that I can do either an enamel wash or an acrylic wash on top of the lacquer without it actually stripping away any of that paint. If we were to do the opposite and paint this kit or any other kit in acrylic and then paint lacquer on top of it and use any lacquer thinner to remove parts of that lacquer, it would actually chew all the way down through the lacquer, through the acrylic, and through the plastic. So that's the reason why I use lacquer paints as my base for everything and use acrylics or enamels above that. So that's a really brief description of the different types of paints there are and why we're using this type of paint versus something else. I'm sure somebody else could probably do a much more in-depth description of the paints, but that's really the gist of what you need to know about why we're doing it that way. So let's get started. We're doing enamel washing. So here I have my enamel thinner right here. This is Tester's brand enamel thinner. You can pick this up from Hobbytown or I think even maybe like Hobby Lobby or something like that. Comes in different sizes, but this is not bad. As you can see there, it's like 11 bucks, so not too bad. And this will last you forever when it comes to doing enamel washing. So good stuff there. If you can't get any of this or you don't have any on hand, you can also use lighter fluid. I see a lot of guys out there use lighter fluid. I'm not a chemist or anything, so I don't know exactly what's in lighter fluid, but I can tell you that whatever's in there it reacts to enamel paint very, very similar to the way that enamel thinner does. So if you don't have any of this on hand, but you have some lighter fluid, like some Zippo fluid or something like that, I think you can use that as a substitute. So there's that right there. And next off, of course, we have enamel paint to go with our enamel thinner. So right here, I've got a little bit of Model Masters enamel white paint. This is Insignia white. So that's all that is right here, just some enamel paint right there. So a little bottle of that. We've also got our paintbrush. You can use a paintbrush or a toothpick or whatever it is you're using to apply your paint. So there's that right there. We've got our Gaia Notes Finish Master, and I know these can be a little hard to find, but let me tell you, these things are amazing. Unfortunately, I don't think any of the larger Gunpla retailers in the States sell this right now. So I don't think USA Gundam has it, New Type, Gundam Planet. I don't think any of them have it. Even some of the newer guys like Mecha Warehouse, I don't think they have it. Yeah, this is a little bit harder to get your hands on. I actually got mine from, I think eBay, either eBay or Amazon, and I had to wait for it to come directly from Japan. So these are a little bit harder to get your hands on, but these are definitely worth it. I actually got this size and a thinner size as well. So this is I believe this is the fine, and then there's also the extra fine. And it comes with these little tips here on the end that you can take off. If you have these little tips, and you can actually take these little tips off here and just replace them, and you get one for each side. I actually tend to use mine quite long. I've been using this one for a couple of months now, and I still haven't used any of the other tips just because I'm really trying to make these suckers last, because like I said, I can't get this locally right now as far as I know. So if you got a local source for these Gaia Notes Finish Masters, definitely leave us a comment down below. Not only just to help me, but to help everybody else in the community, because these things right here are awesome. By the way, guys, if you're finding any value in this video, or this video is helping you at all, please be sure to like and subscribe, and make sure you check out our Patreon page too if you want to help support the channel. All right, moving on to the next thing. What I have here is just a little mini dish tray here. I think you get like a pack of these. I think I got a pack of these from USA Gundam for a couple bucks. So I usually use this to put my thinner in, either my thinner or my paint. And you know, I think these come in like a set of like 6 or so, I want to say. So, and that's not completely necessary. You don't have to have that. You can of course use something else. You could use the top of this cap if you really wanted to. Well, no, you wouldn't want to do it in here. But you could use, if you don't have these, or these are not readily available, you could always use something else, like a little bottle cap or something. Like, got a bottle of water here. Let's say if I was done with this bottle of water, of course. There you go, boom. You got a little reservoir there. So there you go, there's that. And if you don't have that at all, you don't have to have this. You can always just dip directly into the thinner. Now, I will say, if by chance you cannot find a Finish Master from Gaia Notes, you can always use a good old Q-tip. Just go ahead and pull out a Q-tip out of your bathroom cabinet, and you can rock with this and you can make it happen. The only thing that kind of sucks about these is the Q-tips tend to kind of come apart a little bit, which can be a little bit of a pain in the ass, but you can get the job done with a Q-tip. So don't think that you have to have, don't think you have to have this Finish Master in order to get the job done. So, and last but not least, you've got to have your part that you're working on. So like I said, this is one of the parts for the 1 in 550 scale dendrobium that I'm working on right now. As you can see, I've already gone through on some of this, and I have enamel washed some of these pieces, these white pieces here, as well as these recessed like lines here that are inside of these triangles. All of this is enamel paint, and everything below that, all of this light gray, as well as everything else you see here, is all lacquer paint. So, and I have another one I can show you guys. So here's another one that I currently have painted up that, let's see here, there we go. So as you can see here, you know, it still looks really sloppy. So you're gonna see when we go to put this on that you don't have to be exact with this. You can clean this up good. So this is one that I've still yet to work on. So, all right, so without further ado, let's move over to my side of the bench, and I'm gonna show you guys how we actually go about this process. All right, guys, so here we've got all of our good stuff in front of us here. So first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and crack open this thinner. And we'll just put a little bit of thinner here in my little dish here. So I got my little squeegee, put a little bit of thinner in there, not too much. So we can close that back up. And we close that off. So then we're gonna go ahead and take our white paint, and by the way, make sure you guys are, you know, shaking your paint up pretty good. Sometimes the pigment can kind of settle at the bottom, so shake that stuff up pretty good. and take this top off if I can get it to come off. There we go. There's our top there. Now, what I usually do for my paint is I will normally use just the paint that's in the cap. It's not necessarily, I don't necessarily need to use the paint out of the jar itself. So I will use just the paint here in the cap. If I can push this down. So you see there's a little bit of paint on there, and that's enough really for me. So what I'll do just to get that kind of a little movable, because right now, you know, while there's no thinner in there, it's just pure paint. It's a little stiff. So I'll get a little bit of this enamel thinner, and I'm literally gonna do just a single drop into this cap. Just a single drop, guys. One drop, just like that, of thinner. And then I'm going to take my toothpick here, and I'm just going to stir this up. Just this little bit of white paint that's in this cap here. And this just got here just from shaking the bottle up. But this little bit of paint here, plus that one drop of thinner, is more than enough to give me the consistency of paint that I want, just to make it kind of movable and not really clump up on me. I'm just gonna mix that up. Once that's good, so now we're just gonna go in with our brush and we're gonna start putting some paint down. So just gonna get a little bit of paint there, and I'm going for this little nodule right there. I need to get that white. So let's go ahead and let me see if I can get you guys. There we go. And so the nice thing about doing enamel washing is you don't have to be perfect. I'm gonna get that little bit of white on there. As you can see, I got it around the edges a little bit. It's not perfect. Let's see here. And maybe if I might be a little bit too much light, let me cut the light off. Maybe you guys can see a little bit better there. So as you can see, it's not perfect, and I got paint off to the edge, but that's okay because we're gonna be able to wash that away. And what I'll do is, I'll let this dry for a minute, just a couple minutes, maybe 5 minutes or so. And then if I'm happy with the amount of paint that's there, I'll go ahead and start washing it away. If not, I can go back on with a couple more layers and get that to where I want it. So I'm gonna put that off to the side for a couple minutes and we'll come back. I think I'm gonna need at least one more coat on that. So yep, put that off to the side for a sec. All right, so it's been a minute. So we're gonna go ahead and check on our paint here. And for me, that looks pretty decent. Trying to see if you guys can see that. I know the white's kind of hard to see, but for me, that looks pretty decent. However, there is that little bit of run there on the side, so we want to clean that up. So how we're going to clean that up is we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our little finish master here. And I'm just going to take the end. And one thing I forgot to mention for you guys as well is you want to have just a paper towel or something off to the side, so that when it's time to clean off the edge, you can kind of just do this little kind of motion. But so here we go. Let's go ahead. We're going to dip inside of the thinner here. And we're just going to wipe away on the areas that we don't want this white paint. And when we're done with it, that's going to give us a perfectly clean, nice little thing of detail here. So I'm just going to start to kind of clean that away. Let me see if I can get you guys that you can see real good. Let's see, hang on. All right, so that's a little bit closer. Hopefully this is a little bit better. So I'm just gonna go around the edge here and just ever so lightly, I'm just rubbing everywhere where that white is until it comes off. Now, the longer you leave this paint on, the more you're gonna have to rub to kind of get it off. But even still, it'll come off no problem. It may take a little bit more aggressive rubbing, but it'll still come off. And I'm just going around the edges there, just cleaning that edge up until it's absolutely perfect, or at least until I'm happy with it. You'll see there's a little bit of white that got down into the little recessed area down there. I'm not gonna worry about that too much because I still have a step after this that I'm gonna do, which I'm going to panel line this in black, so that'll end up going away as well. But the important thing is that we get all of the white off of the gray surface. And these finish masters are nice because you can really get up kind of close and you can kind of maneuver this thing to get around the edge. And that's pretty much it. That's how you do it, guys, pretty much. And let me show you guys what it looks like if you do it on some paint that's kind of dried overnight. So here's the other side of that. And this paint I actually put on last night. So this is like well dry. So I'm gonna show you guys how easy it is to remove this. Let's do one of these black lines so you can see that coming off here. So let's see, we'll pick one. Let's do this one right here. That one's pretty nasty right there. We'll do that one. So I'm doing the same thing. I just wetted in the enamel thinner and I'm just pulling across it. I'm not pushing down on or anything. I'm literally just touching the surface and pulling, and you'll see it starts to pull all of that enamel paint up, but it's not pulling up the lacquer thinner below it because the lacquer thinner is a stronger paint, or I'm sorry, the lacquer paint is a stronger paint than the enamel paint. So the enamel thinner has no effect on that lacquer paint below it. And just like that, you've got a nice clean line in there. You see that? Now I'll just go around and do the same thing for the rest of these. All right, so here we go, guys. Here is the final product. And as you can see, I've actually gone ahead and done some panel lining too with some Tamiya panel line accent color black. And this stuff is actually enamel paint as well. So you can apply this and clean it up the same way that I showed you with this enamel paint. But yeah, here's our final product, and this is ready to get its matte coat to kind of seal all of this in. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So it looks 10 times better than what it would look like if I just left it alone, or if we just did like a gray on it and just left it that way. It just helps to give this a little bit of pop to it. So very easy way to you know, add some detail to your kits. So but yeah, guys, that is pretty much it. Very easy, very simple. Like I said, this is one of my favorite things to do on a Gunpla or one of the kits that I'm working on, because it is one of the easiest ways to really take your Gunpla to the next level. So if this was helpful for you all, please be sure to share this video, like, subscribe, support us on Patreon, and stick around for some more how-to videos, some more review videos, some more build videos. Lots of good stuff going on, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.